Chapter 1. The Silver and the Silt. The studio was located in the belly of an old industrial building where they are always tasted of metallic dust and forgotten memories. Elara worked there in silence, a silent priestess in a temple of reflections. Her hands, calloused and stained with silver nitrate, moved with the precision of a surgeon. She was a restorer of antique mirrors, a profession that required her to look into the past every single day. To Elara, a mirror was never just glass and chemicals. It was a witness. It captured the light of 1,000 moments and held them in its silver skin. She often wondered if the glass grew tired of holding so many faces, so many secrets. Lately, she felt the glass wasn't just holding them, it was exhaling them. "You're late with the Reynolds piece," a voice called out from the doorway. It was Julian, her husband, or at least the man who shared her house and her silence. He stood at the threshold, careful not to step onto the workshop floor. He treated her studio like a crime scene, something to be observed from a distance, but never touched. He wore his grief like a stiff suit, buttoned up to the chin, while Elara wore hers like a shroud. "The mercury is stubborn," Elara replied without looking up. She was hunched over a Victorian vanity mirror, using a fine scalpel to scrape away the oxidation. "It doesn't want to let go of the tarnish. It's like it's clinging to the shadows it saw 100 years ago. You can't rush the chemistry of time, Julian." Julian leaned against the doorframe, his face obscured by the dim lighting. "Elara, it's a piece of furniture, not a diary. The client wants it by Friday. We have bills, taxes. Life doesn't stop because you're staring into a silver void." "Life stopped 6 months ago," she whispered, the word feeling heavy and foreign. "Or did you forget the sound of the glass hitting the pavement?" Julian winced. The mention of the accident was like an electric shock. "I haven't forgotten. I just chose to breathe. You should try it sometime." Chapter 2. The Alchemy of Grief. After Julian left, Elara began the delicate process of resilvering. It was a dangerous, toxic dance. She mixed silver nitrate with ammonia and sodium hydroxide. The fumes were acrid, stinging her lungs, but she refused to wear a mask. The pain kept her grounded. As she poured the liquid mixture over the glass, the transformation began. The clear pane slowly turned into a dark, shimmering pool. This was the moment she loved most, the moment when a window became a wall, when the world stopped looking through and started looking at itself. But today, the silver was acting strange. Instead of a smooth, mirror-like finish, ripples began to form. They looked like fingerprints. Tiny, child-sized fingerprints pressing from the inside of the glass. Scrape, scrape, scrape. She picked up her blade, her mind drifting back to the afternoon of the accident. It was a Tuesday. The sun had been too bright, the kind of brightness that felt aggressive, stripping away the privacy of the world. Sophie had been wearing her favorite yellow dress, the one with the small daisies on the collar. They had been laughing about a dog and a hat they saw in a storybook. Then, the screech. A sound of metal screaming against metal. And the glass. The windshield hadn't just broken. It had vaporized into 1,000,000 diamonds that rained down on them. Suddenly, a movement in the mirror snapped her back to the present. In the center of the Victorian glass, in a small patch where the silver was still settling, she didn't see the workbench. She saw a flash of yellow. "Sophie!" she breathed. The reflection didn't mimic her. The girl in the mirror was standing still, her back to Elara. She was looking at something deep within the reflection, a dark hallway that didn't exist in the physical studio. "Mommy, I can't find my shoes," the voice whispered. It was soft, like the rustle of dry leaves, vibrating through the glass and into Elara's fingertips. "I'll find them, baby. Just stay where I can see you," Elara sobbed. She began to pour more silver onto the glass, desperate to widen the window, to make the image clearer. She was no longer restoring a mirror. She was building a bridge. Chapter 3: The Hospital of Shadows. The memory hit her with the force of a physical blow. The sterile white lights of the ICU, the smell of antiseptic and despair. She remembered sitting in the plastic chair, her hands bandaged from the glass shards she had tried to pull out of Sophie's seat. Julian had been there, pacing, his face a mask of blood and tears. "She's stable," the doctor had said. That was the first lie. "Why can't I see her?" Elara had screamed. "Because you're looking for someone who isn't there anymore," the doctor replied. In her delirium, Elara had looked at the small mirror in the hospital bathroom. She had seen Sophie standing behind her, holding her hand. But when she turned around, the room was empty. That was the day Elara realized that the physical world was a lie. Only the reflections held the truth. The reflections didn't let things die. They just stored them. Chapter 4: The Recursion. The following week, the studio became a labyrinth. Elara bought every antique mirror she could find. She lined them up, creating an infinity room. If light bounces forever, she reasoned, then time must eventually loop back to the start. She spent hours positioning the mirrors, trying to catch the exact angle where the girl in the yellow dress would step from one frame into another. Her hair became matted with silver dust. Her fingers were stained black from the chemicals. Julian returned on Thursday. He didn't stay at the door this time. He stormed in, his boots crunching on the glass dust. "Elara, enough!" he screamed. "I went to the bank. You've emptied our savings on this junk? On broken mirrors." "They aren't broken," she shrieked, her voice cracking. Look at the George III mirror. See the corner. She's there. She's playing with the shadows." Julian grabbed her by the shoulders, shaking her. "There's no one there. You're looking at oxidation and dust. You're looking at a chemical reaction. You're just blind," she screamed, pushing him back. "You want her to be dead because you can't face the fact that you killed her. You were the one driving. You were the one who looked at the phone." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. Julian's face went pale. He looked at his wife as if she were a stranger, a monster born from his own tragedy. "I wasn't looking at my phone, Elara," he said, his voice a ghost of a whisper. "I was looking at the rearview mirror. Because you were reaching back. You were unbuckling her seatbelt to get that toy. I told you to wait. I told you we were almost home." Elara froze. The world seemed to stutter. Click. The sound of the red button. The toy elephant. The way Sophie had leaned forward, free from the belt's protection, just as the truck jumped the median. "No," Elara whispered. "The mirror. The mirror showed me you were the one. The mirror shows you what you need to see to survive the day," Julian said, tears falling. "But it's a lie. It's all a lie." Chapter 5: The Shattering. Elara looked at the Victorian mirror. The girl in the yellow dress was there, but her face was no longer blurred. She was crying. She was reaching out, but not for her mother. She was reaching for the seatbelt. In that moment, the glass echo broke. Elara realized she hadn't been restoring memories. She had been polishing her own guilt, turning it into a beautiful, silvered lie. She looked at her hands blackened, scarred, and empty. With a scream that tore through the quiet of the industrial park, Elara grabbed a heavy iron clamp. Crash! The first mirror exploded into a cloud of silver dust. Crash, crash, crash. She moved through the studio like a vengeful spirit. Every reflection of her gone, mad face was obliterated. The infinity she had built was reduced to a mountain of jagged shards. Julian didn't stop her. He stood in the center of the storm, letting the small fragments of glass pelt his coat like frozen rain. He knew this was the only way she could come back to him, by destroying the world where she was still a mother. When the last pane was shattered, Elara collapsed into the debris. Her knees bled as they hit the glass, but she didn't feel it. "She's gone," Elara whispered into the silence. "She's gone," Julian echoed, kneeling beside her. He took her stained hands in his. They sat in the ruins of their illusions, surrounded by 1,000 pieces of glass. Each piece was too small to hold a reflection now. Each piece was just glass, inert, cold, and honest. "We need to leave this place," Julian said. Elara looked at the door. For the first time in months, she didn't look at the reflection of the door. She looked at the actual wood, the peeling paint, the handle. She looked at the real world, and it was terrifyingly gray. "Okay," she said. "Let's go." As they walked out, a single shard remained on the workbench, caught in a sliver of moonlight. For a fraction of a second, a tiny yellow daisy appeared in the reflection, and then, as the dust settled, it vanished into the dark forever.